So there was a discussion that um, I ran across that I wanted to elaborate on, and it was why are targeted individuals targeted and destroyed. So I wanted to elaborate on that because it may open up the question as to um, what is the meaning of being destroyed, and how is a person allowed to be destroyed. You know, because I believe that um, certain things happen when particular people allow them to happen. So we wanted to touch on that, and give a little bit of input as to what it actually means to be destroyed, and how a person is destroyed. You know, so um, and again, and this, when talking about targeting and targeted individuals and gang stalking, there's always um, the Freemasons that come up in this discussion, and it's becoming more common for people to associate Freemasonry and secret societies and a network of others involved in these actions or these activities. So when we do have them um, coming up in it, you would, because we have been made to believe that Freemasons were noblemen with the intentions of making good men better. And why, if I see it, everybody else see it, um, why don't they address their, if they are involved in it, why do they not address um, that topic, either to clear their name or to confront those that may be posing as Freemasons, that's giving Freemasons a bad name, and offering aid, which would be a charitable thing to those that are affected by gang stalking and community mobbing. Because, like I said, every if it's becoming a common thing that if you look on many different platforms, you will see a lot of people referencing you know them as culprits in a lot of things. Even me, I'm very vocal about Freemasons, me unearthing certain things and seeing them at the root or the source of certain events that were carried out throughout the history, especially in America. And then you're also unearthing their involvement in other regions of the world. So again, it becomes a global thing. So when we talk about a new world order, that world order has already been established, and there's always been, a network of people, you know, um, constructing that, and making that the reality of things. So there's, you know, not just a new world order, but just a world order. It's a global thing. When, like I said, when you go to China, there's, Freemasons there. When you go to Philippines, there's Freemasons there. When you go to Pakistan, there's Freemasons there. When you go to Canada, there's Freemasons there. When you go to UK, there's Freemasons there. When you go to Germany, there's Freemasons there. When you go to Cuba, there's Freemasons there. When you go everywhere, they have a presence. And like I said, these are um, when getting to the source of targeting, why don't they, address it, and offer some sort of assistance to people that may be under the oppression that, they are being wrongly persecuted and stalked, and offer, some sort of relief for them. But um, yeah, and another thing, you see, um, Wiz Khalifa, when asked his involvement in the Freemasonry during the lie detector test, and a lot of people, they was commenting, and it was a person, just so you can see, there was a person, that commented and said that, you know they said that he's a Freemason.
Final question. Are you part of the Illuminati?
Oh, yeah, let's see.
Yeah. Is that really the truth?
No.
So, they were saying that there's a way to trick the lie detector test, and that's what the discussion is about. But it's a way for people to raise suspicion and to create more of an illusion around certain things, and to appease their interest in certain things. So one person stated that he's a Freemason like everyone else. So that had a lot of traction, just by the statement that Illuminati came up, and then a person states that no, he's a Freemason like everyone else. And there was a lot of commentary about it, and then you have one person saying that Freemason is a front for the oldest religion in the world, Satanism. Believe what you will, but you'll never hear them admit to being in the cult that runs the world. So they do have, people acknowledging that, there's a world ran by a secret cult, and at the helm of it would be Freemason. Maybe they're just those that are amongst us that we see, and the blame would fall back on them. But yeah, they're it's not a secret when it comes to that. Most people won't watch it, but those that do will find out some real interesting stuff. So he was saying Altian's child made a 5-hour video about it. His testimony after being a part of the Freemason culture. I'm not sure who Altian's child is, but we might have to take a look at that. So one person said, it's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Yes, they are part. Yes, but they are part of the Illuminati. Illuminati is the ones who created them, which that's not true. There's Adam Weishaupt, and he actually infiltrated Freemasonry with the intention. He's the creator of Illuminati, and he infiltrated Freemasonry with the intentions to gain their degrees, and he couldn't get past a certain degree, and he had to make a real commitment to them. But the actual creator of the Illuminati was one that infiltrated Freemasonry and got their teachings. So at some point in time they became synonymous to each other. And just to give you that, yes, Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Illuminati, did infiltrate Freemasonry. In 1777 he joined the Masonic Lodge Theodor zum Guten Rat in Munich, here again in Germany. Um, Weishaupt used this as an opportunity to introduce Illuminati ideas into Freemasonry and to recruit members for his own, more exclusive society. So they are um, they have interaction with each other, and it dates all the way back to 1777. But for that person to state, matter of factly, that um, Freemasonry, comes from Illuminati. It's like it's a part of, they were the ones who created them. That's, you know, a fallacy. And there's people that, like I stated before, they provide misleading information to bring you down the opposite hole, because as you go deeper down the rabbit hole, you start to uncover certain things, and you can go down the wrong hole and discover the wrong things. All a form of misinformation, and that misinformation you'll start to parrot and you'll spew it as fact, but that's not the truth. But the true part is that they're a part of them, but you would be made to believe off of his statement that Illuminati created Freemasonry. But what I wanted to show you was that you also have this particular guy who you can tell by his sign, Black Masonic Travelers, Independent and Over the Road Driver. So they have truck drivers, where um, they're about traveling. They're traveling men, traveling, salesmen, traveling, whatever. But this guy stated, when did he become a Freemason? Where's that proof? But you actually don't need any proof. When we saw Young Thug's initiation or whatever, his certificate, we didn't need like a big national thing in order for you to have that recognition. But we do know that Young Thug, who was also a member of the Blood Street Gang, who was just found guilty or pled, I'm not sure whether he pled guilty or was found guilty, but he was guilty of certain, illegal activities and criminal activities. But we did see his association with that fraternal order. So as far as this particular guy, Zion Selassie, which even the guy posing, you see him with the one eye and the moon. All these symbols are symbolism, and we're going to get into signs and symbols and signs of recognition with the Freemason, because we don't acknowledge how just pictures that are spewed right in front of us are associated with Freemason. Like they are recognizable symbols to a certain organization, groups of people. When we're talking about political parties, activities, events that's getting national attention, but they all have Masonic association. So so they said, Freemason dog, they don't let clowns in the real rooms or real knowledge. Like they would consider him a clown, but the only thing that you have to be is just one that follows orders, or one that is obedient to order. you know no So we have Al Hakim. Al Hakim says, okay, I'm a Mason, so what you saying and where's your location? So as this particular person, seeing that there's a statement it's not even a bad statement. He just stated that he's a Freemason, just like everybody else. Like anybody that's in this particular circle that that we see that's on the public that's spewed to the public, they all have to go through that door in order for you to be shown. You have to have a certain level of secrecy to you, in order for you to even have access to, certain circles, because there's secret things that go on inside of the circle. So in order for you to get here, you have to swear an oath of secrecy. So basically that's all he's saying, And Al Hakim, this particular person, before I changed my name was my middle name was Hakim. It was Izel Hakim Hodges. And when I was younger, it was an honor to have that name, Hakim. And then and coming to America, Hakim, you hear the name, so it's synonymous to a certain pious level. So when I seen him, I said, hold on, this guy is Muslim. And if you're Muslim and you're associated with Freemasonry, hold on, then, you're serving two masters. Now you're defending Freemasonry. When, I spoke in my other video, al wala wa bara, and that means to love what God loves and to hate what God hates. And if this is a fraternal order involved in destroying people's lives, secretly conspiring, and being unfair, and doing everything that's adverse to Islamic teachings, then how can you associate yourself with this particular fraternal order or anything with it? And not only that, but defend them publicly. So when you do go and click onto his page, you will see that he's actually associated with Islam. But here he's addressing, okay, what is you saying and where's your location, as if he's making a public threat as to, I'm gonna do something to you, you better shut your mouth. But we're gonna get into giving the wicked dominion over you, because again, these things have to be addressed. So that's just something you wanted to point out, about, Freemasons always coming up in something that's, not, that's not good. And their response, how there's a particular person with an interest and a response to it, but why collectively they don't take notice of these people who may be right or wrong, and addressing their involvement in this. But we'll get into this discussion. So it states, Freemasons, gangstalkers, believe that they are doing the world order a favor by chiseling away the rough edges. That literally translates to the fact that they are murdering political dissidents, activists, whistleblowers, and so on. In the Masonic view, they believe that their crimes are squaring and leveling our society rather than criminal conduct. So, they're stating that they believe that they're doing the right thing by addressing, dissidents, certain activists, whistleblowers, and so on. And that is their view of it. But they don't believe that, their actions are criminal, when in fact, it falls underneath the category of criminal activity, which would make that a criminal organization. And someone stated that that's severely effed, plus they are not qualified to make any determinations like that. And that can be true in the sense of, allowing any and everybody to join. If you want to be one, just ask one. And then, you become one. So that means that a person might not have these builder like qualities, but might have a destructive like quality. And because they seek power, being accepted, and a certain level of recognition, they'll be apt to join and become in ranks with Freemason. And, that will pollute. Like even with Adam Weishaupt, he sought, their knowledge, not because he wanted to be a builder, but because he wanted to create and establish his own form of a secret society that was adverse to religious dominance. So that was his whole purpose of creating that, you know. So you do have people joining the ranks for personal interests, which would deem them unqualified as builders, or ones that can um, prescribe any kind of solution to world changing um, problems. So here we have someone saying that they think they are God because they use MK Ultra technology. I've been dealing with a cult who thinks they're God themselves, and they usually go after homeless people and mental health cases to prove how godly they are. So, this is a person that this, you gotta understand, this is 2 years ago. So this isn't something new that um, people are piggybacking off of, and bringing to you and trying to add on to certain things. But this was about MK Ultra technology, and I recently spoke about watching that movie on Tubi. So they believe that they're God, and you know because they have a certain technology, and the people that they target, and situations that they address, with the mental health crisis, or the homeless crisis, even with Trump, um, seeking to um, bring forth a change in the DC area by targeting the homeless, and um, addressing or tackling what you call crime. But again, I always state that the wicked can't impose or enforce justice on the wicked. It would take the righteous to enforce or impose justice on the wicked, and that's how you make things right. You right those by addressing them righteously, not wickedly. So one states that qualified is a big discussion, isn't it? They all have titles and honorifics based in society as a cult. Their members run state governments, and so on and so on. In Masonic worldview, they are positioned at every gate of entry and exit, ready to drop a milestone on the target's head. So these are gatekeepers at every sector of our society. The job sector, the political sector, the entertainment sector. So they are at every gate. So this is where we talk about gatekeeping. Even on social media, on certain platforms like YouTube, for instance. YouTube is when you reach a certain milestone, you are able to be partnered with creating content that generates income. So with that, with them having the or controlling the gate on YouTube, they usher people that are associated with their fraternal order, and allow them to sidestep, certain um, um, things that they would have to sidestep in order to get funding and monetize their pages. So when you do have people that come on that create a page, and one day they establish all the requirements that it would take, to monetize their channel. And then you have those that have platforms that have been struggling for years, for that are not associated with them, and still trying to, get their channel up and running to generate income. So with that, the solution to that would be from anybody with um, the ability to create content. There should be no requirement, because we have seen unfair practices, when we talk about Masonic nepotism, and we do see the nepotism because of the signs of recognition, some of the things that, or the hand signs that's shown in videos that identify them as one of theirs, and their platform does exceptionally great, and their return is, they have a prosperous channel, while others that may not be associated with them may have a struggling channel. So to alleviate that, you would want to do away with the requirements. As long as you're somebody with an opinion, a voice, or anything to share, and you're on this platform, you should be, allowed to monetize off of that alone. If only 5 people checked out your video, and that's just what you get. If 1,000,000 people checked it out, then that's what you get. It doesn't matter about your milestones, and the way that you accumulate, honorifics. So that's one thing that we should, look at, because it's evident. It's evident in the way that we have, eyes to see how certain people are able to put a certain title with their name, a certain name in their video, and a certain sign on their video, and just have a prosperous channel. You don't abash people for coming into those agreements or those terms, and attack them and target them, but you want everything to be even. You want to even the playing field, so everybody is able to benefit, as opposed to just the ones that they let pat in the gate. So that's one thing that they said, that they're at every gate of entry and exit. Ironic that the crookedest people think themselves qualified to square and level anything, much less the society they've been corrupting forever. So what they're saying is that they have identified them as people that have been corrupting societies, for as long as we could remember, and that that may be the truth. Like I said, at some point in time, maybe they was just and righteous, but at some point in time, they went astray. Right. One's person level and square is another person's hammer and sickle, another person's star and compass, and so on. The one world folks have myriad ways of hiding their presence in plain sight. So they have a plethora way of masking themselves and disguising themselves as things that you wouldn't suspect them to be in, but they're actually in it. It's the reason why you have to separate yourself and stand alone, as, someone that is of sound mind, because what you're associated with, you can become guilty by association. If these people are responsible for the deaths of trillions of people, and you associate yourself with it, then you're responsible with that same thing. This is the reason why when you come up in a gang and then you change your perception about things, and understand that this is against um the righteousness of God, or the righteousness that God bestowed upon you, and put inside of you. You have to deviate from it. You have to separate yourself from it. You can't allow yourself to cling on to something that's rotten, because that rotten thing will affect you as well. This is where you have the saying, bad company corrupts good character. So as a righteous person, you can't be a gangster disciple. Look at what the gangster disciples is doing in Chicago. They're killing each other, left and right. Disassociate yourself with that. So that is part of the reason why you would have to stand alone, because whatever it is that you cling to can corrupt you. If it's religion, if religion is corrupted and you're a part of that religion, you're part of that corruption as well. If it's a political party, if a political party is corrupted and you're associated with that political party, then you're corrupted as well. So this is when you become guilty by association. And again, they're in any and everything. So there's not anything that's not contaminated, or that is not under their control or their grasp, because again, they are in every gate, entrance, and exit. So MK Tech, invasion and mind control. So we do understand that the MK Ultra and the technology used for mind control is associated with that as well. I agree. F their pervy, not for profit lodges. They're F off cult like robes and evil symbolism. Those cowards in the cap are always buzzing around here in a single engine ship. They clearly have made their beds and offered to dig their own holes. Foolish cowards. Oh, those lodges are only non-profit on the surface. There are other forms of profit that don't include cash payments, right? We will stand before Jesus. Gangstalking is murder. They have blood on their hands. Pray for them. So one stated that do not pray for them. This is extending your divine protection to them. They want you to pray for them, also to bind you to them for lifetimes, because you have protection from the divine. Don't pray for your enemies. You should upgrade the energetic connection of the situation at hand to one consciousness, not protection. They need their karma. You need to clear yours, and then dharma. Learn about energy work, why they are doing this to us. So one person, I'm not sure, but he states that Jehovah Witnesses are molesting children, and I'm not sure about that, but someone laughed. That's not news. That's just facts, and I'm not even gonna read this, Basically, anyone who doesn't fulfill their personal beliefs, but it's weird because they're the same ones creating the dissidents. Like they're creating dissidents, So that's one of the things that they believe, that they create the dissidents. They create them and then they target them. Well, demons have infiltrated all groups, which is, like I said, they have. It's not the entire group that participates. I know very holy and wholesome people in all groups that are blamed for this. Demons are cowards. They need a fall guy so they don't experience karma. So we're talking about, um, you know, people that are used as scapegoats. When we're talking about scapegoatism, one person to point the blame at, while others, elude being guilty of any crime. So they target one criminal, and then they persecute that his actions, but their actions are all in sync with each other. When I told you that I didn't know anything about the Epstein case or Epstein files, or what it actually is, but then you took a gander at it, you took a little peek at it, and then you came up with that it's actually another rules from the Freemasons, that there's Freemason involvement in it, because when you see the news articles or the discussions, you see the Masonic symbols to let you know that this is a symbol of recognition, that this is us at play. The sensitive information that we're talking about is us at play. And again, the wicked can't exact justice on the wicked. That means that Freemasons can't exact justice on Freemasons when all Freemasons are actually guilty. That's how it goes, So we're going to show you a few of those particular pictures in the topics that are discussed, so. Money. The Bible says that money is the root of all kinds of evil. The Bible says the root of all kinds of evil is the love of money. MK Tech. Invasion and mind control. He's the JW, probably Jehovah's Witness, in charge of kidnapping and killing, let alone bullying cyber stalkers since I was 6 years old. CenturyLink Network Cabling Pros, guaranteed professional commercial cable installation, data network, voice and fiber optics. So they're saying that this particular guy is involved in certain things since he was a child. But I'm all for them making brain dead stalkers obsolete. They take and give nothing back. It's a no-brainer, excuse the pun. Nope. That's what this particular person says. So one person says, well, feel free to refute it, or otherwise provide your own evidence to the contrary. If you have anything that is contrary to what is being stated on this particular discussion, then provide it, as opposed to you saying no. And in my own case, I sued a couple gangs of stalkers and their security contractors, many of whom were in fact members of one or another Freemason-esque group: the Rotary Club, the Lions Club, Mossad agents, and esoteric military cultists. Gang stalkers come in many forms and many group affiliations. For example, strippers and sex workers. We always talk about, the prostitution's role in these secret societies. And, we just talked about how, the rapper Cash Out was, targeted, to engage in, the prostitution ring, to now he ultimately got found guilty of, sex trafficking and prostitution, and now he has life in prison, while the prostitutes themselves are roaming free. And not only that, but they benefit from his turn of event. They're becoming millionaires, and they're living this extravagant life. They're going to live an extravagant lifestyle while playing the victim. But they know what they sign up for. But sex workers who work with the women's empowerment gangs of stalkers at the top levels. We often find powerful women associated with Eastern Star females, and even church groups with high-ranking women too. But to say no is inappropriate, naive, or just rude or ignorant. Which are you? I have read through your bio and postings, and I would imagine you and I live in different worlds. I believe the occult is human activity done by real people and designed to drive the superstitious and weak into madness or submission. You believe the occult is spirits and ghosts and mystical, unexplained forces. So yeah, no, and that was there. I mean, truly targeted individuals are not targeted by anything so small and simple. I thought I was losing my mind until the MF knocked on our door and told us they had been doing it. It often is because you're speaking truth. Sometimes it's because you're a receiver. Unfortunately, most of the times it isn't anything valid. You're simply being experimented on. The narratives are intended to distract you from the truth. The villain you're given is one created by the abuser. Think bigger, hun. This thing is much bigger and evil. Which, that was, she's a receiver, which means that she receives knowledge. And that knowledge comes from a divine source. And when you receive knowledge from a divine source, things that are hidden are revealed to you. When I spoke about the seer in secret societies, when you see things, a lot of things that you see are unseen by others, so you are shown certain things, and that is actually a threat to them, because where they are manipulative and deceitful, you see through the deception because you already have the truth, and the truth is, the determining factor of what is done. If it's not seen, then you won't know what's done. So when their secrets are being shown to you, and you can see through them, you are more or less targeted by them. And again, they do have access to all sorts of technology, and again, that technology is based on a spiritual thing that already exists, the ability to receive knowledge, so, and see certain things. So they want to create things with the ability to receive knowledge and see certain things, as well. So you don't abash her and say that she's wrong. Again, gang stalking can be a teacher. It can be a cook. Gang stalkers can be a teacher. It can be a cook. Sure, it can be Freemason on occasion. I know it can even be cartel. My point is, you realize there is a head to this dragon, right? You do understand that there's a head. So we're swinging at the Freemason. You're only, hitting somebody at the kneecap, and not even doing any kind of effective. You're not even affecting them, to the point where it's going to topple them. You want to, attack the head. So there's a head to, even them. But at a ground level, we see them on the ground level, and there may be bigger, fish to fry as opposed to focusing on them. But again, the victim mentality keeps you in this box of not seeing outside the box, and it keeps you just punching air and not making any kind of progress. So this is the reason why you don't keep dredging up or digging up the same thing over and over again, because you're not going to get over that hump. You have to say, you know what, yeah, they're involved in it now what, so that is part of what this particular person is saying, that there's bigger fish to fry. And there's another person that says that it's not the Freemason, it's the police doing it. And all their goons, puppets, they recruit with bribery and threats, you know, you know, but who can you report it to? The police. So the corrupt police can investigate the corrupt police. That goes into, corruption don't cancel out corruption. It'll still be corruption, you know. So who do you report it to when all of them are, in cahoots with each other? So who's going to seek or exact vengeance on a particular person or a particular group when they're a part of the particular group as well? So basically that's what this particular guy is saying. You have to accept that it's bigger than you and just try and ignore these goons, sad, sadistic puppets, con strings who have to have their everyday lives dictated to them. Idiots, But yeah, the corrupt don't cancel out corruption don't cancel out corruption. So yes, well, it's that if that's the case, the people they use against me are the worst of the worst: pedophiles, racists, women who have lost custody of their kids for good reasons. So, in my situation, I've discussed that there was a female, that was sent to me that lost her children, and she sought me to get her children back. And, so you do see that these people are experiencing, similar situations where, there's these particular people that are used, and the woman, she did lose her kids for good reasons, but again, as one that sees, you've seen that it was unjustifiable by the means that she lost the kids, and because of that, you know that you are one that can right wrong. So you're going to court, you're addressing the people in court, and not only that are you addressing them, but they are shaking in their boots. And the only reason why we haven't achieved victory in that is because, again, we're supposed to be going this way, the girl went that way, and like I stated, she didn't want to get her children back because I was walking her through the door to get them, showing up at FTM meetings, at DIFAS, showing up at court, and telling them, speaking to the attorney. The attorneys was scared. They knew they was doing something wrong. They gave her a different attorney, and we was about to obtain victory. And again, she went the opposite direction. Like, she didn't really want that responsibility of getting her kids back, even though that would have been, a life-changing victory for her. And like I said, even to this day, that it still can happen, because like I told you, those events was wrong, and I'm not sure who set her up like that, but again, it has to have some sort of masonry involvement. There's some sort of Freemasonry presence in her life. I did see a Masonic emblem in her drawer one day, so we do know that, yeah. It's not what goes into a person that defiles them, but what goes out of them. Have you ever heard a preacher say some members have unauthorized home Bible studies, stealing weak sheep to maybe start their own church? A clique, when these people arrive at your church, they link up with other members with the same MO. A person with a mimicking, monitoring spirit knows you got those spirits in you, and that demon in them is talking to the demon in your dark kingdom. You got to be swept clean by the Holy Spirit. If not, those three spirits going to bring more spirits until this wicked generation is worse than a backslider, which is 7 evil spirits. They turn to God's bid into Gangstalking. If not, they would have just exterminated. Be strong in the Lord Jesus Christ and the power of his might. President Trump said the apocalypse wants to control every aspect of your life. If you're not strong enough, you need to join a church so pastor can watch for your soul. One Christian can put 1,000 demons aflight. Two Christians can put 10,000 demons aflight. A host, but um, the legion, we are many, 10,000 demons, plus there are demons that can suck your soul out of your body. Energy harvesting demons, succubus demons can make your legs feel like walking in mud. A human can host at least 100,000 demons. Google demons and learn how to fight the good fight of faith. I love you with saints of God, gazillionaire, totally innocent earth angels, chosen star seed citizens, the love of God of Jesus Christ, and abgate agape love, using ethos, prodigy seal, and on your forehead until the day of redemption. Master at arms, MM3. Not sure what all that was, but yeah. Freemasons also pick on single women. I live in New Ash Green in Kent, UK, and have been targeted for 11 years now. So this is a person, this is a female, and and her comment is deleted. But she lives in Kent, UK, and have been targeted for 11 years now. I was propositioned for a sexual relationship and declined. Some months later, after I had secured my dream job, I had this man and his Freemason friends shouting out at me over the fence that my new employer had approached them to vet me for the position, and also had their mates following me and shouting out that they were going to get my company to deal with me, and also quoted the reason I would not have relations with that man. That man has been reported to police before, but police will not do anything as they protect him. Had a witness who was willing to stand in court as a witness, but nothing done. No surprise there, as a lot of police are Freemasons. I live with a smear campaign at work and just have to go day by day to try to survive. So they said they pick on single women, and one person that I interact with on my channel, they're stating that they're being targeted by gangstalking and community mobbing, and they recently asked a question about gangstalking. Like she wondered if they had a hit on her, and I allowed her to know that this particular person right here, y'all can go and check.
It's the chosen one.
This particular page out, and you want to show you a little of what it means when the question is, she's trying to figure out if they put a hit on her or is it normal. But I have seen a couple of gang stalkers with a gun on their hip inside the gas stations. The guy today had a clip connected to his gun. He was a gang stalker in a white truck. Not going to lie, the energy in the gas station spooked me, and I waited inside until they left. It's like they wanted me to see it. So, and your response to that was, nah, they can't touch you unless you give them the authority to. The spirit of fear opens the door for spiritual attacks. Spiritual discernment is a shield, and it also weakens both physical and spiritual attacks. So your level of discernment is what it is that allows you to sidestep certain attacks, because there was an incident with let's see if we can right here. In this incident, a person, two brothers were killed at a gas station. And what they did was give the particular person authority to do so.
Imagine being able to,
by feeding into it with of taking offense and using pride, and that gave the particular assailant the authority to move on those facts alone. So let's show you. This particular person right here. See? He gave him authority. So these two brothers saw this particular person, this could even be an incident, this could even be an instance of gangstalking where, they were staged somewhere to create a street theater. The particular person that was the assailant was driving up the wrong street, and the brothers, unknowing, not using their discernment of how people can be baited into certain things. I guess they instructed him or told him that he's driving up the wrong side of the street, and who knows what type of energy was transferred from one to another. The energy of concern or the energy of aggression. Who knows? Only they know. But the particular person followed them into the store. They followed them into a store, and he approached the two brothers. A smaller guy approached the two brothers, and who knows what was exchanged. They're not giving you the interaction, the verbal interaction. Who knows what was stated? But whatever he stated triggered one of the brothers, to lash out physically. As you can see here, he lashed out at him, hit him, and he pulled out, and they ran in the store, and the guy, gunned them down in the store, stood over them and gunned them down and just walked away. And that gave him authority to do that. If this guy, on the other hand, would have turned around at him and said, "Oh, nah, we saw you driving up the street, bruh, and no hard feelings. No, we good. You're all right. All right, have a good day." And went about their business and went home to their children. That event could have been avoided, but because he gave him the authority to do that, that's what led to that situation escalating. So when we do give people authority to proceed in their actions that they want, they're dictating you. They're setting up a trap for you, and that you would see that in Psalms. It's stated here. We can bring that up because we see certain things that are that we see even with Trump and his pursuit of targeting and persecuting the poor, and the homeless, and out of when we listened to the press conference, we heard Trump arrogantly stating certain things, and we're going to do it regardless, so this is why you always can refer to the Bible for wisdom and and some sort of insight. So, you had Trump, state that they was going to, push out, the homeless. So going into Psalms, chapter 10, verse 2 through 11, the wicked in his pride persecutes the poor. Let them be caught in the plots which they have devised. Let them be caught in that, these plots. They devise these plots, but let them be caught up in it. How they are caught up in it? By pointing it out, by showing them that they're not above God. Let them be caught up in that. Because I believe that, Trump unleashing the military police on a city that has a decline in crime is being met with resistance. So I believe I've just seen that. So, for the wicked boasts of his heart's desire, he blesses the greedy and renounces the Lord. So he blesses those that are that have a thirst for greed and renounce, his faith. He renounces, I'm Christian, but we do not give any kind of light or leadway to Christ intervening in our situation. We don't say I renounce that. We're going to handle it like this. The wicked in his proud countenance does not seek God. God is in none of his thoughts. So in any of his thoughts of addressing or approaching the situation with the poor is the role of God or the teachings of Christ in any of his thoughts. His ways are always prospering. Your judgments are far above, out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he sneers at them. He has said in his heart, I shall not be moved. I shall never be in adversity. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and oppression. Under his tongue is trouble and iniquity. He sits in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places he murders the innocent. He lies in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lies in wait to catch the poor. He catches the poor when he draws them into his net. He crouches, he lies low, that the helpless may fall by his strength. He has said in his heart, God has forgotten. He hides his face. He will never see. He will never see. So, the wicked set up traps. The person knew that he went in there with intentions to shoot those men. They went there with that intention. If not, then he would have left the gun in his car, and he would have stepped to this guy who was towering over him, and got a reaction out of him. So that goes into what you're actually saying about given them the authority. The spirit of fear gives them authority. The spirit of pride gives them authority. The spirit of lust gives them authority. The spirit of envy gives them authority. All these things give authority to the wicked to have anything over you. So once you declare that you're under the protection of God, once you declare that you're God's protection and that you're not moved by anything that they throw your way, then they have no choice but to back down. But as far as them hopping out and just doing anything, no, they don't have that authority. They have no authority other than the authority over you that they give you. So you do have chosen one who states that she's a single woman. She's a single mother, you know, and she's a single biracial mother surviving, you know, and you know, we just seen that, yeah, they target, you know, single women, you know, and that's where we have that they seek vulnerable women and to wither themselves into their lives, you know. And this is one thing that the wicked does, you know, and in order for them to gain control over them. And some people fall and some people don't, you know. And you know, that's how that's just how that goes, you know. So yeah, that's something for y'all to consider. You can even go check her videos out. She talks about just her experiences in it as well, you know, living in the matrix, you know, sacrificing your comfort for, you know, your children's sake, you know, and you know, stuff like that. So yeah, but let's get back to what it actually is, because we're going to get into the cloak and dagger, in which we, you know, we need to understand that it's called cloaking and daggering, you know, because of their stance of being non-responsive. Like we don't see them, you know, we don't see them. So someone said, you know, F them. Freemasons are full of it. Ran into one in Orlando, a couple of them. Stand firm, smile, acknowledge them. You won't see them again. At least mine went somewhere else. Never bothered me again, you know. So that was that discussion, you know. And when we're talking about squaring and leveling, this is a Masonic thing. And squaring and leveling has something to do with building, as opposed to building societies. They're structuring agendas. They're squaring and leveling agendas. So squaring and leveling are fundamental constructions and woodworking techniques. Squaring ensures 90-degree angles, creating stable and well-aligned structures. Leveling ensures surfaces are horizontal or vertical, which is called plumb, preventing unevenness and structural instability. So the squaring and leveling is for stability, and structural instability is preventing unevenness and structural instability. So part of squaring and leveling is to create a balanced societal, and to create a stable structural society. So that is why they refer to it as squaring and leveling. But in their case, they're, you know, targeting people whose name may have showed up on a list that may have incorrectly, or just people that they target incorrectly, you know, which, you know, that becomes the Gangstalking program. So that is something that we need to, you know, be aware of, you know. So that's in there. So when we're talking about, you know, the signs of recognition for Freemasons, you know, we can understand certain things about that, you know. So Freemasons use specific grips, handshakes, and hand gestures and passwords as modes of recognition, particularly when identifying fellow members in private or non-public settings, according to Wikipedia. These methods are used to verify a person's Masonic status before sharing sensitive information or participating in specific rituals. While some symbols like the square and compass are publicly visible, the more discreet signs and grips are reserved for internal use within the fraternity. And with that, we wanted to get into certain signs and symbols, certain signs and symbols used by the Freemasons. When we do see the pointing, in certain pictures, we do see, Trump in all his photos of being seen. Everywhere you go, you see. Then you have the sign of praise. You have the royal master. You have the sign, the two fingers. No, I normally do this, as a sign of peace, meaning togetherness. But here it's shown as no. Then you have the one sign, which is okay. Then you have the Sublime Knight elected. I've seen a few artists, do that. Anuel does it, and not only do he do it, but he stated that in Spanish that they was, Freemasons. And his video he did in front of the Masonic temple, and what's the name of that video? Aunque diga que soy un bandolero donde voy, le doy gracias a Dios por donde está donde estoy, y veces que con mi tumpa. They used Tego Calderon's chorus with Don Omar on there, and they was in front of the Masonic temple, and he does this. And I also just recently seen Jay-Z. He was holding, he knew that they was about to start taking pictures, but they do it unsuspectedly. He switched his glass that he had in his hand. He was standing next to some Caucasian female, so he switched the glass he had in his hand to his other hand, put it down, and then he went like this, so that when you do get the picture, you capture him doing this, So these are some of the signs that you can see, being shown. And here you have, 12 Masonic signs of recognition, and the most common one that you'll see nowadays is the pointing, and these are the most common. Like I said, it's everywhere. It's everywhere within any and all nations. Obama holding a pose for the camera. Look at the frozen expression on his face and how the words "to lead" are nicely included. Also notice how his pointed finger is perfectly framed. This is again the Masonic sign of faith. Then we do have these, signs and symbols. And you do see, this a lot, especially when it comes to when I'm on here a lot. You do see, this, and you playing around with your hands, but I'm divine, so maybe they're getting everything that they get from the divine, and using it secretively. And then we have, Bush, Ron Paul, Putin, and Chavez. This is the occult sign of praise. So, this sign right here, That is the sign of praise. We do capture them. It's being captured in these poses, to show you that this is them at play, and you see a lot of this in discussion with Joel Osteen. I've seen the symbol of, this was once the sign of distress, and now they associate it with, the neck. But this particular sign, I seen Jennifer Hudson, do it as well. You see Jennifer Hudson, it's right here. You see her always doing this. This is what makes me take another interest in, the case that she's involved in. And as I took an interest in it and I looked at it, I seen that the father of her son stated that they have an involvement in the Freemasons. So like as I started to get into the case, just the surface of it, didn't add up to me, which makes you think or make you under the impression that there is something more involved, in it. And again, the corrupt can't pass judgment on the corrupt. The wicked can't pass judgment on the wicked. So if wicked people are persecuting others, then you might have to look into that for justice. Like maybe there's an innocent person, incarcerated behind those events that transpired with her. But as you do see, these are symbols that shows your association with a particular group, a group of people. And again, you don't have any authority over me. No one does. I am a product of God. So nobody here in this realm has any authority over me. So no one can silence or hush me or say that I can't say anything. I can speak about whatever I feel like speaking about. So that's my declaration of that's me, and I don't have any enemies. Nobody's seeking to do anything to me, and nobody's going to do anything to me. That's my declaration. So yeah, on in that case, with the boyfriend of her sister, it doesn't add up, and it doesn't add up at all, and that's just the reason why you're like, hold on, you're on this Oprah-like platform, cheery and jolly, and there's something to that. My whole plight, my whole objective of operating, my whole purpose for being on these is, to address people that experience the same hardship that I'd experienced. You got everyday activities and good vibe Fridays. Ain't no good vibe Fridays. My whole family was taken out. Until we can get to the bottom of this and get to the root of this, my work here in this world ain't done. But I'm here dancing and, flaunting myself and showing my weight loss and appearing on the red carpet and amongst all these rich and fabulous and famous people. Something is up with that. Something is up with that. And then the guy indicated that there was something that transpired and she changed the locks. So when a person changed the locks, these are people that can set you up, And this is one thing that I understood about, my family, wanting keys to my apartment. We'll give you keys to my apartment. Nah, you can't have no keys to my apartment. That means that they can set you up. But, we'll delve into that, we'll delve into that a little bit deeper. Understand what I'm saying? Like I told you, justice cannot be something that you can play with. If justice is played with anybody, if this person needs to be brought to justice and not being brought to justice, then no one should be brought to justice. That's just the bottom line. People want fame. But yeah, we do have this particular sign. You know, we do see that sign, this sign. We did see Elon Musk doing this sign, and you know, being shown doing this. We did see that. So it's the pictures that you are being taken and being seen with doing, you know, as signs of recognition. You know, the Pope, the Masonic handshake, these particular people, the Masonic handshakes. And again, I told you that Jay-Z took the cup, switched it from one hand, looked at the people, and just to be shown, you know. So these are signs and symbols of recognition. The eyes up, you know, where you know you have Unc 607, you know, the eyes looking up, Masonic code. This is an imitation of, you know, Christ. You know, we do have, you know, the looking up, and you see, you know, when I look up, you know, I'm thinking, I'm gathering thoughts. And like I told you, these things can all come from mimicking, you know, the truth, you know. And yeah. So 12 Masonic signals in the media. We see them every day in newspaper and magazine. Pictures of men and women from politics, economics, and important institutions, which show mostly strange hand signals, but few newspaper readers think about it. Like, people don't see them, but we never think about it. Why do we always see, you know, them pose like this, or pose pointing, you know, and pose pointing? Why do we always see it, but we never think about, you know, we never think about it, but it's, you know, because these pictures do not say anything to them, but they say to Freemason and other insiders very much, who would let themselves be photographed time and time again in such way. Already in the earliest youth, children will be told when one makes a photo with them to take their fingers away from their face and to use no hand gestures. Those who do politician economics and further personalities allow such photos of themselves to be made. Further, which editor-in-chief would pick the worst pictures out from the dozens of photos available, which upon careful observation always shows the same ugly gestures? But it has already its sense, because these hand signals, views, and graphs are messages under insiders. With these hand signals, secret messages and instructions are passed on mainly by signal photos in the press. In order that this code does not attract the attention of the average reader, the insiders use a whole set of harmlessly looking hand signals and gestures. Only those who understand this code from newspaper and magazines will understand what is really going on in politics, economics, culture, and even in sport. Here are the 12 gestures of the Freemason which are spread over the press. The pointing of the index finger in a photograph. The index finger near the eye, near the mouth, are distinct Mason signs. Pointing the index finger straight at the camera is also seen as also a sign seen often in newspapers. The ambiguous OK sign. The fist. Making a pyramid with the forearms. You know, the hand in play, holding an invisible ball with one or both hands, you know. The hand on the heart for no explained reason, like oath swearing, etc. You know, Masonic handshake. The thumb is seen turned downward and pressing the other person's knuckle. Eyes looking up for no explained reason. Imitation of pictures of Jesus on the cross. Looking above the glasses in a picture. Touching the glasses in a picture. Hands on the necktie in a picture. Distress signal. Hands on the necktie, on the neck. Distress signal. So this is certain certain signals and stuff, but we get it. The elephant in the room. We get it. We get it. As far as the presence of Freemasons in the press, in the media, and things like that, because here we have what you want to call the cloak and dagger. The cloak and dagger. The phrase cloak and dagger describes something secretive, mysterious, and often involving intrigue or espionage. It suggests actions or situations where hidden agendas, secret plots, and covert operations are at play, much like the image of a spy or secret agent concealing their identity and wielding a dagger. So a cloak and dagger operation might involve secret meetings, coded messages, and undercover surveillance. So we do have that. And here we have it in Marvel Comics. Where you have white and black. It's the checkered board, the white and black. I don't even know. This is something that has something to do with Marvel Comics, but taking a look at the what's this guy named Jeffrey Epstein, you can see certain hand signs in the discussion. You can see certain hand signs and symbolism within the discussion. Here's the ball. This particular person right here, the former Israeli prime minister, you always see him doing that. Here's Clinton with the ball. Here's the woman right here. No special counsel for Epstein with the one ball, with the one she showed with the one ball. This particular person fact checked it. Jeffrey Epstein, the ball, holding the ball. This particular person, the ball. I'm not sure if this is. Yeah. U.S. demands talk to Prince Andrew about Jeffrey Epstein's sex ring. The pointing lets you know that this is all Freemasonry work. Even just the discussion of Jeffrey Epstein is Freemasonry work. So we do have this. The ball right here. The one ball. The OK sign with Trump. The ball. Donald Trump pointing. the ghost of Jeffrey Epstein is haunting the world's most powerful men. Show you that this means that, you know, these things are that, you know, the Israeli ex-leader always here. You know, we do see a lot of social media on, especially on YouTube, with these same particular signs, which only indicates that it's a sign of recognition that these are, you know, same people. You know, the same people. You have Trump. No. Chilling video of Jeffrey Epstein talking about Donald Trump resurfaces as file saga, you know, but still in all pointing at the eye, you know, pointing at the eye, you know. So there you have it. Donald Trump with the ball, you know, with the ball. You know, this particular person with the, you know, the cusp, the hands clasped together, the ball right here. Not every Democrat wants to talk about Epstein with this sign, you know, with this sign right here, with the ball. This particular person right here with the okay. This guy with the ball. You know, Trump again with the ball. This particular person pointing. You know, pointing. You know. So the thing is, you know, you're not going to allude if Jeffrey Epstein is guilty of anything. All Freemasons are guilty of everything, because he's one. They're all one and the same. So this is the reason why there's a lot of catting and mousing going on with those particular cases. And again, who's going to pass judgment on them when they're all corrupt? Who? You know, the people are pawns. They're pawns. The people, what, you're going to turn away from them? No, you're going to, you know, just gravitate towards the next artist they put in front of you, the next star they put in front of you, the next celebrity they put in front of you. You know what I mean? The next basketball game that they put in front of you, the next football game they put in front of you, the next concert they throw for you. They're not, the people don't care nothing about justice. If they did, they turn their backs on these people indefinitely, you know, and create their own entertainment. But yeah, you know, I wanted to show you, you know, just how blatant, you know, these people are, you know, with the devil horns, you know, with the peace sign. But where Jay-Z, you know, where, you know what I mean, I seen, you know, Jay-Z standing next to the girl. I really can't find that that clip. Maybe I can hear, you know, maybe but he was standing next to some female, and yeah, you know, this particular, when you see these, you understand, they're always, you know, showing, these are them in the public or the social media realm. They got the little factions of them now on social media, you know what I mean, doing with their hand signs as signs of recognitions. But, you know, they're everywhere. They go to, you know what I mean, this particular person, you know, Yeah. 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 To me, people is just weird, bro. When I see them, and I know, who they actually are. But like it was stated, you know, we all we all see, you know, there's more of us that see um, than they appear not to that there's not, you know. So yeah, I wanted to discuss that, you know, you know, due to there being an action about, an article pertaining to why are targeted individuals targeted and destroyed. We're only destroyed when you give them the authority to destroy you. But as far as you placing yourself in the arena of being a victim, we probably won't see past being a victim. But the goal is to um, overcome, you know, and use your discernment and your spiritual abilities and your physical abilities to either bring some form of change and reform that's beneficial to everybody collectively, or there always going to be a persistence of nepotism and hidden agendas and people hiding in plain sight, which would be in the realm of cloak and daggering. So, um, yeah, I wanted to share that, you know, because it needed to be shared. So, again, I hope that helps, you know, people to identify that we're just scratching the surface, even just with speaking about the involvement of Freemasons. And if Freemasons were righteous and noble people, they would come out collect. They would come out, you know, the higher ups of them would come out and address those that are experiencing gang stalking and targeting, you know. And like I told you with Jennifer Hudson, you could be wrong. Those events could, pretty well be not any kind of relation with her at all. Like she may have not, but how these people play. And again, when delving into it, you heard the father of the child that was a victim of those crimes. He spoke about it, and that name, this particular name, came up in it. This particular name came up in him stating it. You know, his name came up in it. So we do, and not only that, but the person discussing Jennifer Hudson's case, she has a picture of her with the checkered floor, so she's indicating her involvement or her association with certain groups, and for her to have 1.9 million subscribers, and this big platform where you're paid for discussing certain things. You're not doing it independently, but like I said, there's gatekeeping, where it states here, their members run state governments and so on. So, in Masonic worldview, they are positioned at every gate of entry and exit, you know, ready to drop a milestone on a target's head, and you can't, if there's people that's their livelihood is affected by their association with Freemasonry, then they're led to speak out against it, but more accepting to receiving the benefits or reap the rewards of being associated. So we can't look for them for any kind of solutions to um, either improve these organizations or to raise awareness of change to these organizations and these fraternities. So basically, that's what's being stated. You know, and again, you have to give the wicked dominion over you in order for you to be a victim of the wicked. But the wicked don't have any dominion over me. You know, I'm a divine being, and under the divine protection of a righteous and all-knowing and all-seeing God. So that those tactics that they use don't affect me in any kind of way. And I do not give them authority over me. So that's me openly declaring that. And I hope that helps people understand, the role that certain people play and how they play. So, peace.